Astra LC on countdown. We are holding T-minus 30 minutes for Propellants Does.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? So, today, we're back at it again.
This is Astra LC on countdown. We are holding T-minus 30 minutes for Propellants Does.
And
Just heard a hold has been called at T-minus 30 minutes and counting. We will stand by for more information and provide it when we have it. Again, there's a fair bit of time in today's launch window, so we'll stand by and hope for an attempt later this window.
Yep, that's right. We just got the word that the hold was due to propellant load. So as you can see, we are filling up our tanks, and we are.
And as you just heard, a hold has been called at T-minus 30 minutes and counting. We will stand by for more information and provide it when we have it. Again, there's a fair bit of time in today's launch window, so we'll stand by and hope for an attempt later this window.
Yep, that's right. We just got the word that the hold was due to propellant load. So as you can see, we are filling up our tanks. And
Okay.
We are
Sure.
holding to catch up to when we are in our countdown.
anyways, we're here to experience the second attempt. Yesterday, it was mission aborted because some system problem. Hopefully they solve the issue and there's no similar issue like that today. But getting very excited to see it go into space and succeed. That's my expectations. You know, it's gonna happen, right? Either it's gonna go up and succeed or it's gonna blow up, boom, and fail. Regardless, I'm still holding it because I think this company's prospect is very promising in the future.
All good so far.
I swear, this feels like watching a team kick a field goal last second in a Super Bowl. The score. A score tied, right? Yeah, it's more like Super Bowl. Fire rumors still in the news? I don't care, actually. I don't really care. I'm rooting for them. I'm holding my shares no matter what. Whether it succeeds or not. Okay, you guys all understand.
So while we are waiting for this hold to continue, while they're waiting for propellant load to catch up on the vehicle, we're going to take a look at an interview from last week where I sat down with Astra's founder and CEO Chris Camp to learn a little bit more about Astra's mission and today's launch. So let's take a look at that. Hi everybody, I'm Thomas Barker with NASA Spaceflight here at Astra's headquarters, and I'm here talking to CEO Chris Camp. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on to NASA Spaceflight Live. That was an absolute pleasure. Some stuff has happened since, and we're getting ready for the launch of Rocket 3.3.
Hey!
Well, we hope to learn a lot.
Chris Camp, CEO of Astra.
Of our improved Rocket 3. We'll be taking a test payload from the spaceport, and hopefully we'll have a full flight, so we'll be able to collect a full set of data for them.
And how confident are you in the success of Rocket 3.3?
Well, I think we'll learn a lot, and I certainly hope we get a full flight in. A lot of changes have been made, and we've incorporated all of the data from a complete flight back in December into this new version. And regardless of what the outcome of the flight is, we'll take whatever we learn, we'll make whatever changes,
Yep.
and we'll fly again.
What shift in the industry at large is the most important to you, and what is Astra's role in that?
Well, I think the ability to quickly iterate. We're seeing both Astra and other companies quickly make another version, learn as much as they can, and then iterate. And it's really particularly easy to do with such a small launch vehicle.
So you mentioned launch sites. What kind of places are acceptable for Astra's rockets to launch? Are you limited to the places we traditionally think of normal launch ranges, or is there...
I like this guy. He's asking the great questions.
...infrastructure in place to launch from pretty much anywhere?
Well, we can basically launch anywhere we have a license, which means we just need to find a place where we're far enough away from population centers to not bother people. And we're investigating over a dozen different locations, both domestically and abroad. Our system could be completely shipped and unpacked, and we can launch a rocket within a few days. So you can kind of see how that enables us to be very flexible. And we're going to continue to be able to develop and iterate on the entire launch system, including the spaceport, at that same rate.
So just on Thursday, I believe Astra received their authorization to operate out of Kodiak, Alaska through 2026. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's right. We received a launch operator's license from the FAA, and that allows us to launch this version of the vehicle through 2026.
Good questions,
We don't have
actually.
to go through a licensing process for every single launch, but as long as we're launching out of the trajectories with the current spaceport, current rocket.
What kind of forward work is needed to start launching these rockets from more non-traditional locations, things that are not already established spaceports?
For a newbie like me
From
to
our
understand
perspective, it's
space
just a licensing
industry,
issue. So,
huge.
we just need a
These
fence,
questions.
and
Learning a lot.
pad, and we bring our infrastructure in and we launch. So very little actual work needs to go into setting up a site. A lot of work needs to go into make sure that we're not going to interfere with the community and we're not going to cause any disruption. So we try to find places that are away from cities and population centers, typically on coastal areas.
So on that Spaceflight Live, you mentioned a point-to-point target delivery system as part of the future of Astra. But I believe Astra is leading externally for the re-entry part of that. Can you talk a little bit about that system?
Well, I think that Astra's focus right now is in mass producing and scaling launch operations. That focus means that we're not off building larger rockets, we're not going to try to put people on our rockets, we're not going to try to work on re-entry systems. And so it's a natural area where we can get something to space, we're going to partner to try to figure out how we get it back to the Earth station.
You know, some other companies have made that same promise of saying, listen, we're in the small side launch business, we're never going to go to bigger rockets. Some other companies have ended up changing their mind. How set are you on that? Is that something you're completely off the table or open to potentially, if the market calls for it, Astra serving into that market as well?
Well, we've already sold over 50 launches, and we're very focused on what our customers ask us for. And right now, there's an overwhelming demand for point-to-point launch services. And what that means for us is we can't scale fast enough, and we can't focus more attention on continuing to drive the cost down and the scale up of the launch services that we provide today.
What do you believe is the sweet spot capability for a small side launch vehicle as far as size is concerned?
Well, for Astra, it was the smallest rocket that would meet the needs of today's market today. And that's the 50 kilogram class Rocket 3 series. As we start to see more large mega constellations come online, that sweet spot moves to around 150 to 200 kilograms. Where we ultimately seeing it settle out from an economic perspective is a small rocket that can deliver approximately 500 kilograms to a mid-inclination orbit.
Do you think that you'll fly a lot of missions that are basically a three-stage vehicle similar to Rocket Lab's Electron once you have that spacecraft bus coming on?
Yeah, we think that having more ability to add capacity to the upper stage gives us a lot more flexibility. So the Apollo Fusion engine is a great example of a technology that lets us have more precision and more capacity.
And so these design changes and or designs that you're looking towards and the evolutions that you're aiming towards, how does that market and how does that compare to your competitors that are also in the small sat market, which is growing seemingly by the day?
Right, well, what we're trying to do is focus on flight rate above all else. So if we can fly, for example, next week, we'll take what we learn. So that next rocket will benefit from whatever we learn.
On launch day for this upcoming rocket, how is that going to look different from the previous launch as far as personnel involved, the countdown process as far as automation is concerned?
We're really very similar to the previous launch. We have about a half a dozen people up in Alaska. We have about half a dozen people in the launch control room here, and we're going to be running the launch using a lot of the same software and systems that we used in December.
So what is the objective of this upcoming launch with regards to Astra serving the Space Force?
The importance of this
This will
launch.
be the first launch of an orbital launch system, so it'll be a test launch being performed for the Space Test Program within the Space Force. What we'll be doing is we'll be launching to a very specific orbit and inclination. We'll be watching that closely. We have a test payload that's been instrumented, so we're going to be looking at the vibrational environments, the acoustic environments, the thermal environments, so we can give all that data to the Space Force. So this payload will not be deployed from the spacecraft, but we're going to measure our ability to get it exactly where it needs to go.
And it was great to sit down with Chris Kemp earlier last
Yeah.
week prior to today's launch attempt and the launch attempt yesterday. Just a pleasure to sit down and talk with him. If you are just joining us, today's launch attempt is currently in a hold. You can see we're at T-minus 30 minutes and holding, as teams are just working to catch up on their propellant loading operations before continuing.
Thomas and Carolina.
The countdown. In the meantime, Carolina, if it's okay with you, let's dive into some more questions.
Keep
Carolina.
coming.
All right. So, a question in chat asking about what do you use to light those Delphin engines on the first stage? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So again, our first stage is powered by 5 Delphin engines that are
Damn,
developed
these are
and
smart
built and
people.
tested here in Alameda. Each engine
Impressive. These guys are so
produces
smart.
500 pounds of thrust at sea level and is powered by liquid oxygen and kerosene. And we actually have a ground-based ignition system, which is one of the unique features of our vehicle. So in order to make the rocket as simple as possible, we try and put more of the more parts into the ground that doesn't fly, so they can be heavy, and so we keep the engines as simple as we can, so we use a ground-based ignition system.
So if I understand that correctly, it's about taking as much mass as possible for all the systems needed to begin a rocket launch and putting them as many of them on the ground as possible so that once you lift off, you're not carrying all of that mass with you.
That's right. We can better use that mass to increase our payload capability.
And on the other side, you also reduce the complexity of the part that is flying, right?
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Absolutely, and as we've mentioned many times, simple scales, right? Keeping going with the questions here. We do have a question about what propellants does this rocket use to feed those engines?
Yes, so both the first stage and the upper stage engines are powered by liquid oxygen and kerosene.
Gotcha. And when we're looking at
So
the video, we're
complicated,
seeing
don't
some,
understand.
Gaseous oxygen venting from those tanks, and the frosty part of the rocket is that super cold liquid oxygen tank above the ambient temperature kerosene tank. So that's what you're seeing on your screen. And again, we'll see that continue to get more solid frost on that upper part as the propellant loading operations catch up and we can get towards releasing this hold. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but that ice that's kind of forming the frost on the outside of the rocket, that's a negligible amount of mass that shouldn't affect the flight of the rocket.
Yes, that's right. Talked about our strategy really potentially see large chunks of ice as it forms fall off the rocket that is expected.
Diving back into some more chat questions. I have one here. Do you believe that reusable vehicles, full or partial, are necessary to achieve the goal of daily spaceflight, or is it possible to get there with expendable vehicles?
Well, as we've talked about, our strategy really focuses on expendable vehicles. We are not pursuing reusability at this time. We believe that we can make a rocket that is much cheaper and more efficient if we focus on expendable vehicles.
Gotcha. Another question here. There is a lot of talk about space's commercial future, and what is Astra's role in this new era of commercial spaceflight?
Yeah, certainly. So Astra
Didn't we do this yesterday?
to improve life on Earth from space, and we do that by providing services to satellites that are helping to observe and connect and improve the health of our planet. And so what we hope to offer in the future of commercial spaceflight is unprecedented access through daily space delivery at affordable prices by using our launch system that is manufactured at scale.
We also have a question here asking, and I think I might be able to even field this one, how many cameras do we have tracking the rocket? Are they all automated, or do you have any camera operators? I can give a quick shout out to Mr. Brady Keniston, one of the NASA spaceflight photographers out there with Astra today. Actually, you're looking at his camera view. The rocket will pop out from those trees after liftoff. So we've got a human camera operator out there, as well as a lot of those robotic cameras. And I believe there's one other tracking camera that's actually pretty cool to talk about.
Yes, we do have a tracking camera on our dish antenna as well. So that is the system that we use to provide radio link, and so we have that camera ready to go. So we have lots of camera feeds that we hope to be able to show you during flight.
And if I understand that correctly, that camera view is literally on the telemetry tracking dish, which of course has to be pointed at the rocket. So by product, you have a camera pointed at the rocket.
It is simple scales.
Yeah,
I'd
there
like to
you
say.
go. We're also seeing some really cool onboard views. There's an onboard camera on the rocket's first stage. You can see the frost forming on the outside.
So yeah, for those of you watching, how long have you guys started watching this live stream for? And if you guys are an investor in Astra, let me know in the comments below why you invested in Astra, for what reason, or if you're not invested, what reasons are you not invested in?
In the meantime, while those propellant loading operations catch up so they can resume the countdown. Our next question from chat, asking about the Kodiak, Alaska launch site. Looks pretty beautiful.
This is a whole new industry to me, and as a long-term investor, this is the ultimate long-term
Yes,
investing.
Our last launch out of Kodiak
Play.
was actually in December.
You know, holding it for at least 3 to 5 years, right? That's what you call long-term investing. Not just a year or two or a few months.
Beanies and big coats, but we do use this launch site.
So yeah, let me know in the live chat if you're here. Say hello to me. My name is Emil Hilson. Love to have you guys talk about this company in general and the importance of this launch. Woo! Excited.
Yeah, so our red team leader is Adam Frisch, who I'm sure is very excited to get this shout out right now. So kudos to whoever friend posted that question. And our red team is a team of 6 folks who go up to Alaska with all of our launch support equipment and our vehicle, and they are the ones who set everything up and ensure the safe operation of everything on the ground. So it's pretty remarkable that it only takes 6 people to set up the entire launch site that you see in front of you today.
And the other half of the launch operations team in Mission Control can tell us a little bit.
I like
about
how they
that.
make the pre-launch show pretty interesting. With the different answering of questions, they simplify it so it's much easier to understand. Even though I still don't understand most of it, it's still much easier to understand. You know, space is a complicated subject, complicated topic.
And in addition to these 8 folks, we have about a dozen engineers who are the responsible engineers for the different systems on the rocket. They're the folks who will be polled during our go, no-go polls throughout our countdown, and they are actually also dispersed throughout our factory office. We have a great setup where they're able to be at their desks with a light to notify folks that they should not be disturbed and are in operations. So we are a very lean team as we control the vehicle and operate it for launch.
I have another question in chat here asking, are there any superstitious rituals done before each of Astra's flight?
Well,
I like that
there's
question.
any official rituals, but,
Superstitious
we
rituals.
have our own little superstitions here. Our launch conductor, Chris Hoffman's mohawk tends to change color as we enter a launch campaign.
Okay.
There's a few folks in here who are wearing their lucky socks. I myself listen to some pump up music on my drive-in particular No Scrubs by TLC for good luck today.
Excellent.
So we do have our share of fun traditions that we try and keep
Wishing for the best.
across for a smooth ride to orbit this afternoon.
Absolutely. I could definitely understand that no scrubs philosophy. Hoping for a successful countdown today. Continuing on with some questions here. One question about what this rocket's name is. We're calling it LV0006. We're also calling it Rocket 3.3. You want to explain about that a little bit?
Sure. So Rocket 3.3 is the version number of this rocket, and LV.
This girl knows so much.
006, or
And of course, she's part of the
006
management
is the
team.
serial number
You
of
better
this
know
particular rocket.
your product well.
So that Rocket 3.3 number refers to the precise configuration of this rocket, and that includes the changes that we made from our previous flight in December, which was for Rocket 3.2. But LV 0006, LV6 is the name of this vehicle, and we're focused on that serial number because we hope to make many copies of this same vehicle, and we also hope to continue to increment those numbers and someday be at LV 9999 and beyond.
Excellent. Continuing on with the questions, another question about the engines that we're using. We know there's the one type of engine on that first stage, there's 5 of them, and a different engine on the other.
I'm pretty
Talk about those a little bit more.
happy that they're
Absolutely.
being so
Always happy
transparent
to
with all the
talk about our
information.
engines and our fantastic propulsion team that develops them. We've talked quite a bit about the first stage Delphin engines, but the upper stage engine is Ether. It is a pressure-fed engine, and we have one of those powering the upper stage of LV6. It has 740 pounds of thrust at vacuum, and it is also powered by liquid oxygen and kerosene. And again, just like the first stage engines, our upper stage Ether engine is also developed, built, tested, manufactured entirely in-house by our team here in Alameda.
Gotcha. Another question about what we're looking at on screen here, actually, is there a flame diverter as part of that launcher underneath the rocket?
Yeah, it's a little difficult to see, but in that sort of cube-shaped structure that the launch tool that the rocket sits on, there is something that kind of looks like a slide. That is the flame diverter for the rocket.
Yeah, we can make it out just in this camera view. You can kind of see it on the bottom there. It'll be nice and obvious at engine ignition. You can see the thrust getting diverted out to the side. So once we reach that milestone, it'll be even more visible. But yeah, you can just make it out in this camera view a little bit.
And we also do have a water deluge system. The deluge test will happen at about T-minus 20 minutes or so as one of the final steps before we enter our terminal count. And that water deluge system serves the purpose of suppressing sound and as well as getting rid of any flames that may fall astray to protect the beautiful landscape and preserve the safety of people and property at our launch site.
Right now, we're continuing on with some questions from chat. In the meantime, if you're just joining us, we are at T-minus 30 minutes and holding. Team's just working to catch up on some propellant loading operations prior to releasing
Good.
the hold. So we're standing
It's gonna be a
by
success,
for a
right?
new launch time once that hold can be released. Taking another question from chat, Carolina, someone's asking, what is the next Astra mission?
Well, we are hoping to
It's a conference call.
on plan to complete 3 missions this year, so you'll have to stay posted on our news for updates about our next mission.
With like retail
We
investors.
plan to complete 3 flights this year.
Gotcha, and that'll be more of a monthly launch cadence, which is a part of that ramp up towards the eventual goal of daily on launch operation.
That is our hope.
And we have a question about that. Someone asking about what are Astra's kind of thoughts or opinions about the environmental impact of launching these non-reusable rockets, these expendable rockets, at a daily launch cadence?
Absolutely. So we do have most of our rocket is made out of aluminum, which does corrode in salt. So it does degrade. The first stage does degrade when it falls into the ocean. Also, as a smaller vehicle, we are much lighter and can use a lot less fuel. And as we are able to calculate and project where the first stage will land during and after its flight, this not only serves the purpose of helping us to ensure safety, but we are also looking at long-term options to minimize the ocean debris. And similarly, in when it comes to space debris, the materials that we use and the satellites we launch are not intended to remain in orbit forever. And so when the upper stage and theoretically any payloads we launch do fall out of orbit, they will burn on re-entry.
Gotcha. Continuing on with more questions here, we do have one asking about these hoodies. I'm wearing one right now. I don't know if we can cut to it really quick. I can show off the Astra. There we go. You see?
Oh,
so we do have
sweet.
a question in chat asking, how can we get these hoodies?
Well, we don't have an Astra merch shop at the moment, so the only way to get one of those hoodies is to be an Astra employee or be one of our close friends. So you can learn more about joining the Astra team at Astra.
Or how about the investor?
We have many roles open and are hiring very quickly as we scale up our team and continue to work towards our goals. So.
terrible time. And also
Watching. Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. We've got the major averages trading higher this morning. Jared Flickery on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Jared, as we said earlier, things could certainly change after we hear from Jay Powell. But what different measures are you watching here this morning?
I'm watching a couple things. I'm watching meme stocks and also these some of these dollar stores, which just appear to be having a terrible time. Let me just begin with the dollar stores, because I think I've noticed this trend beginning yesterday when Dollar Tree and Dollar General reported their earnings. Massive supply chain problems, massive freight problems, costs are just skyrocketing. I think it was Big Lots today came out and said they're going to have a loss for the current quarter. And this is in the midst of the strongest consumer environment, arguably on record. And that just speaks as to the incredible inflationary pressures that we're seeing. I don't know if we had a chance to talk about PCE price inflation numbers that the Fed watches very closely this morning, but they're ticking up. I think the core remained the same, still elevated at 4+, but the headline number ticked up to over, I believe, 5.5, 5.6%. That's just amazingly high, and it's sticking there. If these trends continue, we're going to see massive price inflation down the pike, especially when the wage price inflation or wage inflation starts kicking in as well. We really haven't seen a lot of that just yet. So as long as people have the money to spend, they're going to spend it, and we'll have to see how much pricing power these companies have. But it doesn't appear that Big Lots does, or Ollie's, or Dollar Tree, or Dollar General. These reports are just really shot off the bow for me. Also want to talk about the meme stocks, because that's where the fun is. There's a trend that's been that I've been noticing, and other people on Twitter have too, where these names, these tickers that we have at the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, the cool ones are being snapped up. So I saw this filing this morning from Toast, this company that's filing for an IPO, and their ticker is going to be TOST. That's prime meme territory right there. So it's just kind of exemplifying that this is maybe the new norm. It reminds me of the dot-com boom back in the day, when everybody, including myself, were registering DNS addresses and trying to reserve the good names when there were so many restrictions. It's the Wild West here, so maybe this is the new boom, kind of like the internet in the 1990s, but for stocks somehow. I'm not sure how it all fits together, but I think there's a theme there.
Yeah, that feels right, Jared. Which of course has to inevitably lead me to the question: what was the DNS that you registered? Do you remember?
Hundreds. I don't even remember. I was just snapping up names and I resold them. It was a good business for a while.
Oh, all right. Well, good. Congrats. All right, Jared Flickery on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we are going to speak to the CFO of Peloton about the company's quarter. Got a lot of questions there. Speaking of pricing power, that company cutting the price of its most popular bike. We'll talk about it next.
Peloton shares are under pressure following the company's latest earnings and outlook. The company saw some slowing in subscriber growth, cut the price of the entry-level bike by $400, and said it wouldn't be profitable on an adjusted operating profit basis for its new fiscal year. Peloton also disclosed it uncovered a material weakness in its accounting for inventory valuation. Let's unpack all this with Peloton CFO Jill Woodworth. Jill, always good to speak with you. Thanks for taking some time this morning here. Let's start with the decision to cut the price on the bike. Why does that move make sense? And is it a reflection of just a more heightened competitive environment for at-home fitness equipment?
A great question. You know, if you look back over the last several years, we have always had the aim of making our products more accessible. We introduced zero APR financing 4 years ago. We introduced a 30-day free home trial a couple of years back. And we've also cut the price of our digital app as well. And so it's been largely academic until now to be able to make a big price move. As you can imagine, over the last several years, we've essentially sold every bike that we could make. And over the last couple of months, of course, the pandemic forced us to really grow our manufacturing base 8 or 9 times over during the pandemic. And so we're finally in a place from an inventory perspective where we can actually enact a dramatic price change to really open up the accessibility of our products. So we're really excited about it.
Jill, it's Julie here. Just to follow up on the pricing a little bit, it seems like it really took the street off guard. Was there a matter of maybe you guys could have done a little bit better job preparing people for this price cut? And if you could, give me a little bit more color around how you were able to cut the price. Where, I mean, we talk to CEOs every day. We're rising input costs and then are raising costs. So I think it's notable in this bigger environment to see someone cut the price and cut it by so much for a flagship product.
Well, I think it underscores, frankly, a lot of consistent themes that we've communicated over the last several years. And first and foremost being the fact that we are prioritizing subscription growth and household penetration. And so with this price move, you know, we think this is a great way to expand our addressable market and get more people into the Peloton ecosystem. And again, it's been something we've consistently said that as we move forward, and we have taken a lot of costs out, especially of our original bike where we have our most mature supply chain, we've taken these costs out. And so we've always said that when we are able to, we will make our products more affordable. So I don't necessarily think there's anything surprising about the move.
Jill, it's Miles here. I wanted to ask a little bit about the costs associated with the tread recall. You guys have the line item in there, and I guess how you think about that risk across the portfolio now going forward as something that, you know, could come up from time to time, given these are, you know, sophisticated pieces of equipment that you're seeing millions of go out the door.
So we're excited about the launch of our lower price tread. As you know, in collaboration with the CPSC in the US, we now have the approved repair for the touchscreen for that lower price tread. And for us, as you know, safety is paramount for us and for our members. And so we also rolled out Tread Lock, which is a passcode that is now required to turn the tread on. And we believe with these remedies, we have the safest treadmill on the market, and those the treadmills will go on sale next week. But for us, again, it's just all about safety for our members, and we feel really good about our remedy. And of course, we will always be looking for ways to enhance the safety of our products.
Jill, just given the tread recall, will you have to cut the price on the treadmill as well?
At this juncture, we have no plans to change the pricing of either our higher end bike, our Bike Plus, or our tread, but certainly over time, especially when we're able to move our manufacturing base more domestically with the Peloton Output Park that we announced a couple of months back, we are very excited about the cost efficiencies that we will see on that lower price tread over time.
And Jill, on the accounting issue that was mentioned up in the release, now, why do you think this happened, and will you have to restate any financials because of it?
Yeah, so first of all, we are not restating financials. We had some manual errors in documentation, and the discrepancy was not at all material. And as you can imagine, we're already investing in remediation efforts here. So this again is not impacting our financial statements and will not result in any restatement of our historical results.
Jill, I want to ask you about subscribers as separate from the hardware for a moment. You guys ended last quarter with 2.33 million connected fitness subscribers, total members 5.9 million, which I assume also means other people who used those subs in those households, and then 874,000 digital-only subs is my understanding. Hopefully I have all these numbers right. Of those digital subs, I know you guys have been offering some complimentary subscriptions. How many of those are paying? I know these are higher margin, the subscriptions are higher margin than the hardware. So talk to me through those numbers and how you think about them.
Yes, so we love the digital subscription business, largely because a lot of those digital members end up buying a bike and hopefully will end up buying a tread, and converting into connected fitness is actually our fastest growing sales channel. And so, we do have efforts to continue to grow our digital app business. This is also going to be an integral part of our corporate wellness program, where a lot of corporations are very interested in subsidizing access to our digital membership. So this will be a key lever for us to use as we drive our corporate wellness business.
All right, let's leave it there. Peloton CFO Jill Warworth, good to see you this morning. We appreciate you coming on and talking about this stuff. All right, still to come, we are awaiting comments from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell at the Jackson Hole Virtual Conference. We'll be bringing you Powell's speech live, and of course, we'll discuss what it means for markets and your money. Do stay tuned.
right, one final quick market check before we hear from Chair Jay Powell of the Federal Reserve at the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. All three major averages right now are in the green modestly, so about 0.25% across the board. There are some expectations that he could talk about tapering before the end of the year. If you look at treasuries as well, obviously key when we're talking about rates and tapering. There you have, oh look, the whole suite of treasury yields. Look at that, the 10-year yield right now at 1.36%. That is the benchmark that we watch most closely when we're talking about the Fed, but of course on the shorter and longer end of the curve also important. But 1.36% is where we stand going into his comments, and we will be right back with them in just a moment.
Boy, I tell you, if the market doesn't move on this one, I'm going to feel like we all wasted a week of our lives waiting for Fed Chair Jerome Powell to speak at Jackson Hole. We are set to see those comments begin in about a minute's time. Let's take a look at the markets here as we get set up and Brian Sazi gets pumped up over there. All three majors higher, up about 3 basis points across the board. S&P, the relative leader, up some 32 basis points, just off of a record close. Dow trading 35,003 and some change as we get set for that. Julie just gave us the rundown of where we sit on the Treasury market. 136 on the 10-year, so a bit of a backup, but a 20 basis point backup from where we saw the lows in Treasuries. 135 now. But ultimately, we'll see if we get any movement there. Heard plenty of talk from regional Fed presidents about their views on the taper, and we'll see if we get something similarly definitive or perhaps something more circumspect from the always thoughtful Fed Chair Jay Powell. But let's go to Yahoo Finance's Brian Chung now, who has Powell's remarks ready to go. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, well, we're getting some of these headlines from the prepared remarks, which he'll be delivering and reading off of in a few minutes or so. But the Fed chairman saying that the labor market is improving but turbulent. He described the job market as favorable for workers as wages continue to rise. But he did say that Delta does present a near-term risk. Now, of course, what does this mean for the path of policy? Very interesting to see the Federal Reserve chairman saying that reversing monetary stimulus too soon could be, quote, particularly harmful. So maybe a bit of a double spin on these remarks, and when referring to, he's using that to refer to tightening policy, which isn't necessarily the same as slowing its asset purchases. Now, Powell saying on the tapering side of things that, quote, it could be appropriate to start reducing the pace of asset purchases this year. So the Fed chairman not necessarily showing his cards on whether or not he favors a tapering announcement in the Fed's next meeting. That will be on September 22nd. Now, he did want to reiterate in his speech that he doesn't want to conflate interest rate hikes with a Fed tapering of its asset purchases. He said, quote, there's much ground to cover when it comes to eventually raising interest rates, which would happen as far as sequencing goes after the Fed starts its tapering process. He said, quote, we have articulated a different and substantially more stringent test for liftoff. So again, the Fed chairman overall putting a big emphasis on maximum employment. He kind of broke down in his remarks the idea that this is really a time that's good for workers to try to bid up wages, as there are over 10 million job openings, but 5 million people relative to pre-pandemic levels that are still out of the labor force. But on the inflation side of things, he did acknowledge that this is a real cause for concern. He said that inflationary pressures, especially when you consider that personal consumption expenditures print that we got this morning, 4.2% on the headline year-over-year growth. That's a reading that we haven't seen in over 30 years on that particular reading. So interesting to see how the Fed chairman is still acknowledging inflation in a speech that's mostly about employment. But let's head over to the Fed chairman, who is beginning these remarks right now over at Jackson Hole. Take a listen.
Since the U.S. economy faced the full force of the COVID-19 pandemic, this shock led to an immediate and unprecedented decline, as large parts of the economy were shuttered to contain the spread of the disease. The path of recovery has been a difficult one, and a good place to begin is by thanking those on the front line fighting the pandemic. The essential workers who kept the economy going, those who have cared for others in need, and those in medical research, business, and government who came together to discover, produce, and widely distribute effective vaccines in record time. We should also keep in our thoughts those who have lost their lives from COVID, as well as their loved ones. Strong policy support has fueled a vigorous but uneven recovery, one that is, in many respects, historically anomalous. In a reversal of typical patterns in a downturn, aggregate personal income rose rather than fell, and households massively shifted their spending from services to manufactured goods. Booming demand for goods and the strength and speed of the reopening have led to shortages and bottlenecks, leaving the COVID-constrained supply side unable to keep up. The result has been elevated inflation in durable goods, a sector that has experienced an annual inflation rate well below zero over the past quarter century. Labor market conditions are improving but turbulent, and the pandemic continues to threaten not only health and life, but also economic activity. Many other advanced economies are experiencing similarly unusual conditions. In my comments today, I will focus on the Fed's efforts to promote our maximum employment and price stability goals amid this upheaval, and suggest how lessons from history and a careful focus on incoming data and the evolving risks offer useful guidance for today's unique monetary policy challenges. The pandemic recession, the briefest yet deepest on record, displaced roughly 30 million workers in the space of 2 months. The decline in output in the second quarter of 2020 was twice the full decline during the Great Recession. But the pace of the recovery has exceeded expectations, with output surpassing its previous peak after only 4 quarters, less than half the time required following the Great Recession.
Talking about this stuff.
My understanding, hopefully I have all these numbers right. Of the
treadmill on the market and those and so with this price move, you know, we think this is a great way to expand our addressable market and get more.
And we expect to be picking up the count shortly. So we'll listen in on the countdown to hear that update.
All right, here we go. I'm back, and it feels like we are 12 minutes until launch time. Wow. You guys waited a long time, and we'll be there. We'll get there shortly. I mean, there's comments where people are like, doesn't matter how they perform today. Here, I'll show you guys. As you see here, thank you for joining in.
Astra LC on countdown. We have resumed count. We held briefly, making minor changes to an engine configuration.
This is a huge play long term. I actually wish they failed so I can load up more shit.
FTS confirmed. Astra FTS is still enabled and nominal.
Where were you when it was like a few weeks ago when it was like down?
As you can see,
Like just a month ago, at the beginning of the month. $8 something. That's where I was. I bought in. Bought in around $9, bought in around $8 at its lowest. And I'm holding strong for a year.
Of 3:35 p.m. Pacific time.
And prior to the hold, we were talking about some of the changes to this vehicle. So to increase our payload capacity, this vehicle has several upgrades from Rocket 3.2, which we launched in December. In LV6, we stretched the first stage tank to increase propellant capacity, reduced the mass of the upper stage, added additional sensors to gather more data about flight environments, and consolidated over a dozen individual components on the upper stage into one single assembly. The main propellant load has been completed, and we're continuing to top off oxygen prior to launch.
Good.
So, as we've mentioned before, the vehicle is now in terminal count, so we're performing the final checks before we give a go for launch. We've talked a little bit throughout this countdown about the red team, but I also want to take another moment here if you're just joining us to recognize them. The rocket is controlled from our headquarters here in Alameda, but we do send a red team of 6 Astra personnel to Kodiak for that launch. And because our rocket and support systems were designed with simplicity in mind, we only need a very small team on site for the launch. It also helps us limit travel, which has been a key consideration during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. All 6 members of the red team are taking regular COVID-19 tests to protect the health and safety of everyone involved in this mission. We are at just under 12 minutes to liftoff, and we'll continue to listen to the countdown net. In a few moments, we expect the launch team to conduct a go, no-go poll to proceed into tank pressurization and launch.
Deactivate OX1 OV201.
Here we go.
First fill. OX1 OV102 return. OX1 OV100B101B fill. Toggle off and deactivate fuel 4 operate.
Off.
Fuel 3 supply.
Off.
Fuel 1 FE300 upper fill.
Off.
Fuel 1 FE200 first.
Off.
AV1 radios.
Off.
AV1 rocket support cart.
So that's how they launch a rocket. I see.
From the following are still enabled and running. 0 stop purging.
Active.
I like how the retail, that's just the normal people, the normal people in society like us. I mean, I don't really know much about space, but everything's new. So you see what exactly is happening, how to actually launch a rocket.
Stage power.
Active.
DB1 turn on off PDBs.
Active.
Water system.
Active.
Tango at this time, I would like you to enable the launch machine.
Active.
Toggle LOX topping.
Toggle.
Standing by for a go or no-go poll for the launch attempt.
On countdown team, this takes us to step 144. This is the poll for tank pressurization and launch today. After this point, any system issue.
I'm actually kind of a bit excited.
Hold.
I don't know why, but
for flight, call go. Otherwise, call no go. Red lead. Red lead is go. FTS. FTS is go. Delphin. Delphin is go. Ether. Ethers go.
Oh.
Odin.
Odin is go.
Odin's go.
Go.
Eco's go.
Ace.
Aces go.
Launcher.
Launcher is go.
Orbit.
Orbit is go.
Booster.
Booster is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
Is that their nicknames?
FAO.
FAO is go.
CDH.
Go.
Tango.
Woo! Everybody's a go.
Safety is go.
LD.
LD is go.
LD
Ah,
is go as
let's
well.
go. That's what it is. Let's go.
Tango and AB1 managed pulling set us into ground.
It's all good. Tango is a go. Go, go, go.
And as you have just heard, the poll has been conducted, and the Astra team is go for launch.
It's a go. It's a go.
If you are just joining us, we are currently just under
Whether
9 minutes away from
it'll fail or
liftoff
not.
for Launch Vehicle 6 or LV.
Here it go.
This rocket is an orbital class vehicle, so if everything goes well, it is fully capable of making it to orbit.
Let's
However, as a
go.
reminder, today's mission is still a test flight for Astra.
Yes, historically, achieving orbit is very difficult, and for this reasons, we are very realistic about our expectations. Today is our third attempt to reach orbit and our first test with a sample payload provided by the Space Force to simulate mass, and again, we will not be deploying this test payload. For the next several minutes, the team is loading the final flight software onto the vehicle and going through our final checklist for launch.
When you heard all the goals, I was like, okay, here we go. We're gonna get this party started.
We're going to turn our attention to the countdown nets, to the rocket on your screen, and I'm going to hand off commentary to Carolina for Astra's third orbital launch attempt. Carolina, it's all
Third
yours.
orbital launch attempt.
Thanks, Thomas. The major flight milestones that we will encounter during flight are displayed on the left for you to follow along. At T-minus 3 seconds, the 5 first stage Delphin engines will
Woo!
ignite.
Okay, let's
And if the engine data looks good, the hold down mechanisms will release at T0 and the rocket will begin
lift
its
off.
trip to space.
Here's a kind of a schedule
At
for
T+12
how it
seconds,
happens.
the rocket will begin pitching downrange to fly south over the Pacific Ocean. LV6 will reach max Q, which is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle, at T plus 1 minute and 15 seconds. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is the end of the first stage burn, and that will occur at T plus 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Damn, this is
is followed by
intense.
fairing separation and stage separation, and at this point, the rocket will be in space. After stage separation, upper stage ignition occurs at T plus 3 minutes and 5 seconds, the beginning of an approximately 5-minute long burn until SECO, or second engine cutoff, at T plus 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And since we're not releasing our payload today, the vehicle's systems will simulate a signal for payload deployment at T plus 8 minutes and 30 seconds. If we make it to orbit, we would consider this flight to be extremely successful. We are just about 6 minutes and 30 seconds to launch, and all of the systems are looking good. So we are waiting now for the range to give us the go-ahead for launch, and we'll continue to listen in to the countdown net.
Yeah. It's a go. Hilson, go. That's me. What about you guys? Are you guys all watching? Are you guys entertaining? Enjoying this entertaining show? I definitely am. Here we go. 5-minute countdown. And I'll be back soon.
RCO, LC on countdown.
This is RCO. Range is green. You are authorized to launch.
Copy. Thank you, sir.
And we're at 5 minutes to T0, and as you've just heard, the range has given us the go-ahead. We are green. And I believe we've got a bit of a crowd gathering here at our headquarters, watching on our big screen here in Alameda. We also have many members of the team watching from home. And at T-minus 60 seconds, the vehicle will transition to its internal control. So we're at 4 minutes and 30 seconds from liftoff. And we will continue to listen to the countdown for these final minutes before liftoff.
RCO, LC on countdown. At this time, please verify the range is recording all telemetry.
This is RCO. Range is recording.
Thank you.
Here we go. I've returned, and
if you require RF data after launch, be prepared to
we are 3 minutes till countdown. 3 minutes. And check out the poll so far. What are you doing of Astra company shares on Monday? Holding 33%, 67% buying more. Buying more. So does that mean you want it to feel? I don't know. I just hope it's going to. I just hope.
So be prepared to issue option command at T+164, calling out at event.
FSO copy.
3 minutes. Reminder, control room, any 3-word hold from here on out is an immediate abort, regardless of source.
This is actually a bit nervous.
FTS at this time, please send Master Enable and Watchdog on AFTU. And Mark?
Here we go. Hosting again. This post. And here we go. A minute.
Master Enable and Watchdog have been issued on both AFTUs. Both AFTUs ready to fly.
About a minute left.
Copy, thank you.
Here we go, guys.
Under 2 minutes to go.
Give me more pray emojis in the chat. Pray emoji. Wishing it as a success.
"90 seconds.
Is one not enough? Joshua, hey, you're in. Hey, Joshua, thanks for joining in. We have 1 minute left until Astra launches their rocket, hopefully going to outer space near orbit. So orbit is like this certain level of space. So hopefully everyone give it some praying signs, emojis, and hopefully this shoots up and successfully reaches orbit. It's actually quite exciting in a way. All right.
First stage LOX tank is pressing.
Joshua, this is actually how a rocket goes up.
Upper stage tanks have gone.
And they're broadcasting it live to everybody on YouTube in a way. So here we go. Here we go, guys. Let's see check it out in the chat. Everyone's like, we good, we got this, everyone. But you know what? There's a chance it'll fail, and so it's not 100% success, all right? But anyways, this is all over YouTube. Here we go.
10 seconds. Water system on. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
2, 1. Here we go. Lift off.
First motion.
This is like watching a movie. Oh wow, that's the rocket going up. Okay, how is it so far? This is nervous.
Our next objective is max Q.
Next objective is max Q, which is what? Max velocity? Here it is. Okay, so far it's going up pretty nicely. That's a terrible camera angle, okay? Why am I nervous? It's because I want it to be successful, I guess.
Looks like we're getting some really great footage from our onboard cameras.
That's crappy footage, okay? That's crappy footage. It's alright, Joshua. You're on a date. Oh, you gotta tell me more about your date afterwards, okay? But watching this rocket going up is more fun.
Rocket has cleared the island.
You know, every second that it's in space, it's gathering a lot of data. A lot.
Approaching nominal downrange trajectory. Tracking.
Whew.
And at this point, we should have also passed max Q, which is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. This is a significant milestone and the most physical stress the vehicle will experience during launch. Our next milestone is MECO, or main engine cutoff, which is about 30 seconds away.
Main engine cutoff. I see. Here we go. This is all new to me, and I think this is all new to you guys as well, right? The first stage experience of liftoff goes through maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's intense.
Vehicle is passing through max Q.
Terminate fence.
Terminate pursuit.
How's the chat reacting?
And as you might have seen, there appears to have been an anomaly with the vehicle in flight. And we will first and foremost ensure that our team and others are safe. We take great safety precautions to ensure that no one was put in danger by an event like this. It does look like we got about 2.5 minutes of flight data, which will be incredibly helpful as we make improvements to our next vehicle on our way to reaching orbit. And any flight where we get some data that we can learn from is a successful one in our mind. Although we did not achieve our primary objective today, our team will work hard to determine what happened here. And as we dig into the flight data, we are optimistic about the future and our next attempt.
Yeah, I guess so. It's flying in space is definitely really difficult, and
Let's go ahead to some quick words from Astra's founder and CEO, Chris Kemp.
Today, after a successful launch and liftoff, Astra's launch vehicle experienced an anomaly in flight. While we regret that we were unable to accomplish all mission objectives for the Space Force, our team captured a tremendous amount of data from the flight. We will work closely with the FAA to complete a mishap investigation.
what?
Behind me is LV0007, which we updated based on what we learned from the flight, so we can
Pre-record it.
our backlog of over 50 contracted launches. I want to thank our team here at Astra, our partners at the Pacific Spaceport Complex, and I also want to thank our government customers and partners, the Department of Defense, United States Space Force, the Defense Innovation Unit, FAA, FCC, the Coast Guard, and the community of Kodiak, Alaska. We look forward to seeing you at our next launch.
For now, that is going to conclude our live coverage of the LV006 mission. I want to give a big thank you to Astra for allowing us to be very transparent about today's test flight, and just a big thank you for today's partnership in bringing live coverage of the mission. A big thank you to you, Carolina, for joining me as well.
Thanks, Thomas. It's not what we were hoping for today, but thanks for having us, and we hope to be back on the pad again soon.
Absolutely. From all of us in NASA Spaceflight, the well wishes to the Astra team, hoping to see them back on the pad soon. For all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us for more spaceflight news coverage. Until next time, see you then.
Oh wow, it's tough. I mean, flying into space is a tough mission, I gotta say. Not everyone's gonna be able to attempt and have a successful first time, second time, or even third time. This was their third attempt. I mean, yesterday they didn't do it because there was a mission abort. But oh my gosh, I think when you heard mission abort, that was tough. Rockers go, yeah. I thought it had a good start.
Vehicle is passing through my skew.
Terminate then.
Oh yeah, there. That was the moment where it canceled. Oof. But hey, this is entertaining.
And as you might have seen, there appears to have been an anomaly with the vehicle in flight. And we will first and foremost ensure that our team and others are safe. We take great safety precautions to ensure that no one was put in danger by an event like this. It does look like we got about 2.5 minutes of flight data, which will be incredibly helpful as we make improvements to our next vehicle on our way to reaching orbit. And any flight where we get some data that we can learn from is a successful one in our mind.
Definitely. Anything that they can receive.
Although we did not achieve our primary objective today, our team will work hard to determine what happened here. And as we dig into the flight data, we are optimistic about the future and our next attempt.
That camera angle though. Well, anyways, yeah, I mean, so it was a failure. I mean,
Let's go ahead to some quick words from Astra's founder and CEO, Chris Kemp.
so yeah, obviously Chris Kemp, the CEO, recorded a separate video for almost every result.
Today, after a successful launch and liftoff.
So this was actually like predicted. This something would have happened.
Astra's launch vehicle experienced an anomaly in flight. While we regret that we were unable to accomplish all mission objectives for the Space Force, our team captured a tremendous amount of data from the flight.
But yeah,
We worked closely with the
thank you for watching. I mean, let's just go back to the
time start PSD record.
when we go. Let's go to launch time again because that replay was worth watching. And
15. 10 seconds. Water system on. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. 0.
First motion.
First motion.
Our next objective is Max Q. Looks like we're getting some
Really great footage from our onboard cameras.
that was loud. All right, so that was tough. Obviously, wanted to be successful, but not everything is a success. But that was fun to really experience. And Joshua, that camera angle. Anyways, I did a lot of streams today. I did Jackbox, and then I'm doing this Astra rocket launch stream. And yeah, it's I'll do some Genshin Impact later on. I'll see, but Yeah, I thought it had a nice launch, but something happened past the second stage of maximum aerodynamic.
Approaching nominal downrange trajectory. Tracking.
This is just a replay. But yeah, Joshua, you gotta tell me more about your date.
And at this point, we should have also passed max Q, which is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. This is a significant milestone and the most physical stress the vehicle will experience during launch. Our next milestone is MECO, or main engine cutoff, which is about 30 seconds away.
Main engine cutoff. So they haven't reached that, I think.
Vehicle is passing through max Q.
Terminate sense.
Ah, so they didn't reach. Yeah, they didn't reach that main engine cutoff.
Terminate receipt.
And as you might have seen, there appears to have been an anomaly with the vehicle in flight. And we will first and foremost ensure that
Obviously, that's
and others
disappointing
are
to hear,
safe.
but
We
thanks a lot, yeah, honestly, for joining in.
that no one was put in danger by an event like this. It does look like we got about 2.5 minutes of flight data, which will be incredibly helpful as we make improvements to our next vehicle on our way to reaching orbit. And any
2.5
flight
minutes?
we get some data
Not too bad.
to learn from is a successful one in our mind. Although we did not achieve our primary objective today, our team will work hard to determine what happened here. And as we dig into the flight data, we are optimistic about the future and our next attempt.
Yeah, and I wish them the best of luck as well. I really do. It was a failure, but
Let's go ahead to some quick words
not a
from
total
Astra
failure
CEO.
because they learned a lot on this flight. And
Today, after a successful launch and liftoff, Astra's launch vehicle experienced an anomaly in flight. While we regret that we were unable to accomplish all mission objectives for the Space Force, our team
See what the
captured
live
a
chat has to
tremendous
say.
amount of data from the flight. We will work closely with the FAA to complete a mishap investigation. Behind me is LV0007, which we updated based on what we learned from the flight, so we can begin servicing our backlog of over 50 contracted launches. I want to thank our team here at Astra, our partners at the Pacific Spaceport Complex. I also want to thank
that was
government
that was
customers
epic, actually. I
and
gotta say.
partners, the Department of Defense, United States Space Force, the Defense Innovation Unit, FAA, FCC, the Coast Guard, and the community of Kodiak, Alaska.
Big sell-off coming on
We look
Monday.
forward to seeing you at our next launch.
Maybe.
For now, that is going to
It's sad. I miss seeing Thomas, who's the news director, and Carolina.
I want to give a big thank you to
Carolina,
Astra for
director
allowing us
of
to
product
be very
management in Astra.
transparent about today's test flight, and just a big thank you for today's partnership and bringing live coverage of the mission. A big thank you to you, Carolina, for joining me as well.
Thanks, Thomas. It's not what we were hoping for today, but thanks for having us, and we hope to be back on the pad again soon.
Absolutely. From all of us in NASA Spaceflight, the well wishes to the Astra team, hoping to see them back on the pad soon. For all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more Spaceflight news coverage. Until next time, see you then.
Yeah. What's the newest reaction? Anyways, I like that when they go like
At T0 and the
yeah, okay, so let's go back to here. They reached maximum aerodynamic and they were halfway to, they're close to main engine cutoff stage. So they got passed into here. They said this was one of the most significant stress parts that they passed, and that was good. So it's just working on anything above here. So main engine cutoff, fairing separation, stage separation, ether ignition. Wow, all this second engine cutoff and all. Payload deployment signal. That's what it is. Working on a rocket is that difficult. It's one of the hardest things ever. And yeah, that's tough. I'm not like super what's that called, like super disappointed, a little bit, because I really hope they succeed, but it's hard. That sideways liftoff is cool. What sideways liftoff? Yeah, the question is, can they fix the problem to get more test flights next year as well? Or test flights off the ground this year? I honestly don't mind go down or not. I'm in this for the long term in a way. So, you're in it for the failures, you're in it for the success. That's what it is. That's fun. People are like, oh, buy Rocket Lab instead, but no.
Will begin its trip to space. At T plus 12 seconds, the rocket will begin pitching downrange to fly south over the Pacific Ocean. LV-6 will reach max Q, which is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle, at T plus 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Yep, that's what we passed.
Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is the end of the first stage burn, and that will occur at T plus 2 minutes and 50 seconds. This is followed by fairing separation and stage separation, and at this point the rocket will be in space. After stage separation, upper stage ignition occurs at T plus 3 minutes and 5 seconds, the beginning of an approximately 5-minute long burn until SECO, or second engine cutoff, at T plus 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And since we're not releasing our payload today, the vehicle's systems will simulate a signal for payload deployment at T plus 8 minutes and 30 seconds. If we make it to orbit, we would consider this flight to be extremely successful. We are just about 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
I just want to see it launch one more time, honestly. It might be super loud.
Our next objective.
Yeah, this is super loud. Look at that.
Zero. First motion.
First motion.
Oh, I thought this was gonna fail because it tilted, but okay. It launched like this, went sideways, and then whoosh, went up. And then up.
Our next objective is max Q.
This is fun to watch, I gotta say. More entertaining than sports sometimes.
We're getting some really great footage from our onboard cameras.
Anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, and so until next launch, right? Let's hope it will be a success. Okay. So thank you all for watching. Joshua, talk to you very soon as well. Probably do some streaming on Genshin Impact in a way. So great, Josh. You get to experience me more stream. I'm just going crazy with my streams today. Who knows? All right. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.